Survivor 46 is here, and so is On Fire, the only official Survivor podcast, and we have a twist this season. The winner of Survivor 45, Dee Valladares, will be joining us every week.
We're going behind the scenes of the biggest moments, the how and the why things happen, and the strategy and analysis you can only get from someone like me, a Survivor winner.
Listen to On Fire, the official Survivor podcast, wherever you get your podcast.
With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Cycling, swimming, canoeing? No, not a new form of triathlon, but the sporting career of our guest in this edition of the podcast. All three sports have been extremely successful in recent Olympic and Paralympic Games. And with Paris now less than 2 years away, how to maintain that? I'm Michael.
And I'm John, and it's a matter of fact all three sports have had their challenges too. So how do we bring through the next generation? This is Great British Bosses from Anything But Footy, a podcast series focusing on the men and women behind the scenes of sport in the UK.
I'm Chris Furber. I'm the Performance Director for Para Canoe and Canoe Sprint at British Canoeing.
We mentioned the sports. Michael mentioned the sports that you've worked with. Why canoeing?
The opportunity to come here and lead this team was just too good for me to turn down. And when the opportunity came up, I really considered whether I had a skill set to be able to come into this sport and deliver some success. I'd actually had an association with canoeing in the past. So I came to Nottingham Trent University when I did my undergraduate degree in sports science and administration, 96 to 99. And I lived for 3 years with a paddler who was part of the setup, who did sprint kayaking. So I'd been around the National Centre. I'd seen how the sport worked. Certainly when I was coaching sprint cycling and we saw the 200 meter K1 event come into the Olympics, I was really interested in that, the physiology of that, the skill acquisition of that, the delivery of that. And then, obviously I've made a strong career within the para side of the sports. And this is a fantastic, Paralympic program. So opportunity to lead another strong Paralympic program, but also an opportunity to work in Olympic sport as a performance director for the first time and to realize the potential that this program has. So yeah, I think when it was offered to me as an opportunity, then I kind of grasped it with both hands, and I was lucky enough that British Canoeing saw the potential in me and offered me the role.
Because you finished at British Swimming on a real high in Tokyo after a brilliant Rio and an even better London 2019 when, of course, you staged the World Para Swimming Championships. Was that hard to leave, though, in effect?
It certainly was. I'd grown. Actually, if I go back to when I started, so I moved from cycling in 2012 and went into being a performance director at Para Swimming in 2013. And that was about developing my own career and moving myself forward and perhaps practicing some of the things that I was preaching to my athletes about moving outside your comfort zone and trying new things and putting yourself out there. So as I took that on, it was a natural step for me to take. I've always loved parasport, and I will continue to love parasport. I have a family connection there, and it means a lot to me. And I absolutely loved the journey that I went on with that team. And we had some highs, we had some lows, we had some successes, and some fairly public challenges, but I massively enjoyed what we achieved there, and we achieved kind of different things. We we went after performance in a big way for 2016, and I think we really moved that on. And then moving into 2020, we really went after holistic athlete development and treating and seeing athletes as people and performers. And 2019, as you mentioned, there was a huge success for the team. Not only because we delivered with British Swimming the championships in a 4-month period, having taken it over, but also because the performances of the team there were outstanding, and probably singly, my highlight of my entire career was leading that team in 2019. The culture we had, the environment that we had, delivering success, both in terms of the event and performance in London, 7 years after we'd been there for the games was fantastic.
It might strike some people, Chris, as being strange that you can have leading roles in 3 sports that on the surface are quite different: cycling, swimming, canoeing. So what are the skills that you can take from one to the other? To put that in a football analogy on anything but footy, when they appoint a manager, they like someone that knows the club. Do you know canoeing when you've been at cycling and swimming?
I mean, there are 100,000 things that are transferable between these sports. If you just go straight to the nature of the sports, when I was at cycling, you're coaching on the velodrome. So it was about standing from a stationary position, covering a set distance, whether that be 500 meters or 1,000 meters or 3,000 or 4,000 meters, covering that distance in a race format faster than anybody else could. And if you were the fastest person, you were the winner. You go to swimming, it's a similar scenario. You start on a set of starting blocks, you swim to one end of the pool, you swim back again. It's a set distance, 50, 100, 200, 400. You are looking to deliver that performance in the fastest possible time you can. You could argue it's not even a race because you're not in the same lane as somebody else. Your piece of water is your piece of water. And then transfer that over to canoeing. It's the same scenario again. We start at the far end of the regatta lake. We cover 1,000 meters, 500 meters or 200 meters, and we're in a lane and we're looking to cover that distance as fast as we possibly can. That there are limited factors that you can change in order to change your speed. You either produce the movement faster, so that's stroke rate in canoeing and swimming, or cadence in cycling, or you move further for each stroke that you do. So you might change your gearing in cycling to be able to move further every time you move your feet round. In this sport, it's about technical efficiency and distance per stroke. So from the point that you apply the paddle to the water, can you leverage past that point and move further every time that you do that? So there's great similarities physiologically and technologically between those sports that I think I've been able to bring, and has instantly been able to create a connection with coaches about that, and to be able to talk to them about performance on the terms. Each sport uses its own vernacular, it uses its own vocabulary and terminology and jargon in some cases, and you have to kind of get into that and understand that and try and go, well, when you say that, what is it you're actually talking about? So that you can work and experience that environment. And then if I take it up to just a strategic level, again, the sports are similar. It is about what is it we are trying to achieve longitudinally, either in the next cycle or the cycle after that. What's our vision? What's our mission? What are the objectives that will give us an indication that we're moving in the right direction? And what are the enabling tactics that move us in the right direction to achieve the various strategies that we might have? And that's no different actually than working with an athlete in a micro level and going, well, how do we cover this distance in a particular time in order to win the event? So, great similarities that I've been able to draw between the sports that I think have given me that unique position of being able to drop into a sport and support the ambitions of that sport.
Do you think you could be a performance director at any sport then?
Yes, I do. I think ultimately sport is a people business, and people are driven by purpose. And one of the things we work really hard on is understanding why do you do this? And once you understand someone's why and they understand their why, then you can support and you can motivate when needs be, and you can guide. I have applied for roles in professional sports and come close. I think Olympic and Paralympic sports are maybe slightly more embracing at this point in time of that transfer of knowledge between them. When you go into some professional sports, you're faced with, well, you need the technical understanding in order to communicate with coaches. I would push back and say, I don't think you do. I do work in football for the Premier League, mentoring some of the academy coaches, academy heads of coaching and academy managers as part of their processes. I do think it's transferable across lots of different sports. And I do think you can bring a brand new perspective to some sports that don't really like to look externally at what they do.
You've been in coaching for a long time, Chris, I think more than 20 years. How much has it changed? You talked about the challenges at British Swimming in particular. How much has it changed from an athlete point of view and also from a coach point of view?
Yeah, I think significantly. I would say it's changed, and it's about that balance of challenge and support. I think the analogy that I would use is the British sporting system over a period of time. We got incredibly good at identifying athletes with the capacity and the ability to get to the top of Everest. And we got incredibly good at getting them to the top of Everest. Maybe where we weren't doing so well was supporting them on the way back down of that journey. And I always say to staff now, we have to be equally good at getting them up there, getting them back down as we are at getting them up there. And in addition to that, I would say that, elite sport is, it's Darwinian in its nature. We are looking for the best of the best of the best. There's I don't know the exact numbers, but it's like 400 people that win Olympic medals out of 7 billion people in the world. So, it is very elitist, and not everyone can do that. But it's absolutely right and appropriate that as sports, those that don't quite make it or don't quite have the attributes to go to the summit are supported in their exit from their sport, in their transition, and their hand is held as they come back down from the mountain, and we safely return them to base camp. So I do think that has changed, and I think British sport has accepted its responsibilities. There's always more that we can do, but you can't get away from the fact that it is Darwinian, and we are trying to find the very best of the best. So the challenge that we need to bring and the support that we need to bring is it has to be of a high performance level, because that is what we are ultimately after, and not everyone can be number one in the world by its nature. So you are going to have people who don't quite make it, who try their hardest, and for whatever reason they don't make it, and we need to support those people as much as we celebrate the medal winning performances.
Because I think UK sport now call it kind of medals and more. So it was all about medals, but there is so much more to sport than that, even at elite level.
Yeah, for definite. I felt myself changing over time. When I was a coach at cycling, you could ask me what it was all about, and it was about winning. It was about winning for me. I wanted to show I was the best coach in the world, and I wanted athletes to perform at the best of their ability and to win things. It was number one. Since I've become a father, you start to think a bit more broadly and a bit more about the purpose. And one of the things that really resonates for me at the moment is, I've got 2 young boys, and everything is so instantaneous for them. They go, Jake breaks his football. He comes in, Dad, can you buy me a new football? I go on Amazon. It's there the next day, isn't it? And I reflect on my own kind of childhood, and saving up money week after week after week, and going to the shops was an experience, and buying things. Equally, we used to go to, you guys will know, Our Price was the old record store, wasn't it? And you'd save up for weeks and weeks and weeks, and you'd go and buy that album, and you'd have something tangible. My kids go in their bedroom now, and they go, they use their music streaming devices, and they say, Alexa can play Harry Styles, and he's there instantaneously. So for me, sport is a mechanism for teaching them about endeavor, about trying, about perseverance, about pursuing something that is greater, and the journey that you go on, and the value that adds, and how much you appreciate the reward if you get there in the end because of the journey that you've been on. So that my philosophy, I guess, has changed, and it's now more about what can we, yes, winning is great and we all love to win, but what else can we use that mechanism for? And one of the things I love about British Canoeing is I just think the social agenda, the societal change agenda is strong here. Our environmental agenda, our activism around LGBTQ+, all of those elements are strong, and we have some athletes that are fantastic advocates for a range of different things that I think are really important.
And when you talk about in your career big challenges, and you talk about how you have learned and developed, are you talking about your time with para swimming and the bullying scandal, which you've publicly sort of admitted that went on and apologized for?
I mean, of course, that was a huge learning period for me. I was new to a leadership role, having come from a coaching role. I was in a sport where the culture was different, and one of the things it definitely taught me is that you have to spend time in a new sport understanding what that culture is, and how that sport operates. Ultimately, what we were trying to achieve was noble, and we felt that we had strong engagement, strong buy-in. But what we probably tried to do was just move things a little bit too quickly. And when you go in and you make a very strong statement and you look to move things very, very quickly, that feels quite abrasive to people. And it's not a one-size-fits-all model, and I think we're seeing that in some of the stuff that's happening in gymnastics at the moment. You'll get different accounts and different experiences from two different athletes from the same coach. And we have to work really hard with our coaches now to help them to understand that what one athlete needs is different to what another athlete needs, and that you need to be there for that person and give that person the support that they need. I think where there's a complexity is you might have value. So we might have an athlete who really appreciates that strong level of challenge and wants to be led strongly by a coach. Now, if you're on the outside and you're perceiving that conversation and the way that plans out, and that doesn't quite align to your values, then you might look at that and go, well, that's not appropriate. That doesn't align to my values. But actually, the athlete has consented, the relationship is there. And it's a positive environment. So yeah, I learned a massive amount from that period. It was a painful time for me. I got into Paralympic sport because my brother was disabled, had spina bifida. I'd been surrounded by disability my whole life, passionate about being altruistic and helping people to develop. And when people kind of push back and say, no, you created an environment that didn't feel comfortable for me, then that's painful to hear. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't reflect on that period and remember the lessons I've learned and feed that into what I do now.
Because it must be such a difficult balancing act as a coach. As you say, you're dealing with different individuals with different needs, different emotions, and whereas someone might need the arm around the shoulder, somebody else might need more encouragement, for example.
Yeah, very, very definitely. And it's, it's on the coach to learn that and to understand that. But I think one of the things that we try to do now, and one of the things we've introduced here at British Canoeing is more of a team nature to coaching. So you asked, how things have changed. I think now it's unrealistic to expect that every athlete in your system is going to thrive under the direction of one particular coach. So you create a team of coaches and a team of backroom staff and practitioners and performance lifestyle advisors, so that the athlete has the ability to go to what they feel that they need to have that support in place. And one of the things that we're culturally trying to achieve here at British Canoeing is helping our athletes to understand that that's how we're coaching in the future. So you might have one person who's assigned to lead the support that you get within your particular sector, your particular team, squad or crew. But ultimately we're here as a team. So if you feel that there's value in support from someone else or guidance from someone else or a different voice, then that we can do. And we need to give athletes the skills and experiences to be able to take multiple voices, but ultimately have responsibility themselves for their careers.
You're listening to Great British Bosses from Anything But Footy. We're talking to British Canoeing's Chris Furber. And Chris, you said earlier you're really excited about the Olympic side of it. Your experiences we've been talking about comes from a parasport point of view, but the Olympic canoe sprint. But you're going in losing your former gold medalist, bronze medalist in Tokyo, Liam Heath. That's a tough thing to take over.
Yeah, Liam's been absolutely fantastic, hasn't he? And what a tremendous ambassador for the sport. And I'm gutted because I love working with world-class athletes. The opportunity to I've worked with some fantastic people in my career: Chris Hoy, Jason Kenny, Dame Sarah Story, Ellie Simmons. The list goes on, and I was excited about working with Liam. And he saw me come in as performance director and immediately announced his retirement, which I'm not taking to be personal. So I think he was a fantastic ambassador for the sport. We very much want to stay in connection with Liam, and he's very kindly offered his time and his knowledge, and we'll use that to inform and support athletes who go on that journey. And we now need to bring through the next crop of athletes. But we do have some fantastic athletes in our system. I wouldn't have come here if I didn't believe that the canoe sprint program is well placed to deliver in the future. We've got a fantastic strategy in place. We're recruiting at the moment for people to drive that strategy forward. So strong aspirations for the future. And then the para canoe program, is chock-a-block full of superstars as well. Emma Wiggs and Charlotte Henshaw, who of course was a para swimmer before she came to para canoe. They've got great potential to achieve. They've already achieved so much, but they can go on to achieve more in the future as well. And we've been dealt a good break by the world governing body, and we now have another event that we can go after in Paris, which is exciting.
And you mentioned Paris. When they delayed Tokyo by a year, I just thought, oh well, 2 Olympics in 3 years, that sounds all right. But actually, from a sports point of view, and I hadn't really thought about it, I've said this to people before, I hadn't really thought about that means a totally different cycle for you guys. You call it a 4-year cycle. How different is it for British Canoeing, for Team GB, for Para GB going to Paris on a 3-year cycle?
It's a good question. I think sport is still trying to understand that a little bit. I think one of the challenges that we face is just staff retention and staff energy. We went through, as everybody did, a global pandemic where things were incredibly challenging, and there was so much uncertainty and so much unknown. We then delivered a late games, and that was like nothing I'd been involved with before. That the level of detail, the level of planning, the level of support required, the complexity of it was huge. So you've got tired staff who've delivered something huge that was different to what they've delivered before. And then you've come straight off the back of that and you're into a 3-year cycle to deliver Paris. So I think one of the things I think about a lot is just how do we build in downtime? How do we role model that we don't need to run at 1,000 miles an hour all day, every day? So as a leader, how do I role model good behaviors in terms of energy management and balance and things like that, in order to make sure that staff don't feel like they need to completely burn themselves out, and that they arrive in Paris in good shape. I think for senior athletes, it's maybe not changed things too much, other than it's made that next goal, that next objective closer. So they have, rather than kind of taking downtime off the back of the games and taking a year out, they have come back and really focused on right, well, I've now got this opportunity of going to Paris, and I'm going to go after that. And that plays to, again, that support nature and that balance nature, that you've got athletes who are, again, fully invested in something, which you need to be if you're going to be successful at that level. But how do we create balance in that? And how do we make sure that when Paris is done, we don't end up with a really fatigued system or people that have driven themselves so far, either athletes or staff, that they break after Paris? And that's something that everyone is thinking a lot about.
One of the highlights of the Paralympics for me, and I wasn't there because of the travel restrictions, but I was taken to the para canoe party virtually. by Jeanette Chippington. She got me on the phone and she took me in, and it was fantastic to see all your para canoe medalists. Are they all back now as a cohort and going again?
Yes, yeah, they are. We have the majority of them up here in Nottingham training on a daily basis. They had a sensible process after the games where, well, apart from the fact that they went to the World Championships more or less directly off the back of the games, which was challenging in itself. But a number of those athletes have tried new things, have taken a bit of time, bit of downtime. Some of them went away abroad for extended periods of time, and then they're now kind of coming back into it. And as a governing body, we've been really supportive of that, so that we can, you can just divert your attention for a period of time and then come back to it. The para canoe team here has such a strong culture. They are like a family. And one of the interesting things for me coming in here has been protecting that culture with them. But also encouraging them to look externally at the areas where they can improve and develop. They have a desire and an appetite to stay at number one in the world, which obviously I'm in alignment with. But that sometimes means you have to take the processes that have got you there and just interrogate them a little bit more and see what you can learn from that. And there are learnings within our own canoe sprint program that will aid and abet that para canoe program to develop their performances is moving forward, and team coaching is helping us to achieve that. Equally, there's plenty within the para canoe space that the canoe sprint program can learn from as well. So I'm hopeful that driving a little bit more integration between those programs can just lift everyone up to the next level.
So the people maybe listening to this that get, let's say 4 weeks annual leave from their job every 12 months, they might not understand why an elite athlete needs that extended break. So we were speaking to Jane Figueiredo, Tom Daley's coach, recently, and her and Tom took a year off after the Olympic Games. People at home listening to this might think, a year off and then try and come back into an elite sporting environment. How is that possible? Is that a fair comment?
I think it's just the nature of what we do. The focus, the attention, the I guess consistency. Pressure, consistency. You do not make it to the level that Tom Daley has made it to without consistency of training, of effort, of attention, of focus. And that can become really wearing. And I have this conversation with my wife a lot. She's a teacher and obviously gets a different amount of holiday to what I get, which is challenging in a relationship and challenging when you've got kids. But the reality of where we're at, and teachers will know that feeling when a teacher gets to the summer holidays and how on your knees you are and driven into the ground you are and how ready for that 6-week break you are. That's how athletes feel and coaches feel when they go through the games. Only I think it's magnified by the fact that they've been at it for 4 years to get to that point. So yes, I think it is appropriate for athletes to take some downtime to regenerate, to get away. And we had it with Ellie Simmons at para swim. She was quite vocal and outspoken in terms of not enjoying her Rio experience. And we were supportive of her taking a significant amount of time away from the sport to really find herself and find the love for it again before she came back in. And ultimately then qualified to go to Tokyo, and she was a real leader within the team for us at the Tokyo Games. So absolutely delighted that she was there for us.
Our time is nearly up. A couple of questions for me. Do you still commentate on mountain bikes?
Oh no, sadly not. I used to love it. I was in my first ever role for British Cycling. I was mountain bike and BMX administrator, and I was partially responsible for bringing the Fort William World Downhill Cup to Scotland. And it's an insane event. They start at the top of Alnwick Moor, which is next to Ben Nevis, and they race down this course for 4.5-5 minutes, and the first person to the finish wins. And you have 15,000 hardcore British mountain bike fans in the arena, dressed in kilts and ginger wigs and all the stereotypes, with air horns and stuff to make noise. It's insane. I used to absolutely love it. And the guy that I used to commentate with, Dan Jarvis, he still does it. And I miss it like mad, but I can't pull off gnarly anymore and wicked and stoked and all this vernacular that you need to use in that environment. I'm too old.
And finally, you mentioned it right at the start. Does it feel like you've come home? Because you mentioned Nottingham Trent. Does it feel coming back to British canoeing, you've actually come home?
I certainly feel really comfortable in this city. I had a fantastic experience during university. I really enjoyed my 3 years here. I'm still very close with, as lots of people are, I'm still very close with the people that I went to university with. In fact, one of them has put me up for an extended period of time while I found my feet here. So I massively enjoy being in Nottingham. I think it's an amazing city. I enjoy being at Home Pierpont, which is our home. I find it an inspiring place to work. And that's certainly helped with the transition, but I am ultimately have made the choice to make quite a big sacrifice, and my family stayed in Manchester where they're settled, and I'm away from the family during the week in order to deliver this role and back with them on the weekend. So, I think we all make choices within our careers to do things, and this is a choice that I'm comfortable with and the family is comfortable with at this point in time.
Well, we are stoked that you joined us here on Great British Bosses. It's been rad to talk to you. Chris Furber, I never thought I'd say those words out loud. Performance Director for Canoe Sprint and Para Canoeing at British Canoeing. Thank you for speaking to Anything But Footy.
Oh, thanks so much. Cheers, guys.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.